Most people have no idea that something as simple as a mineral could be the missing piece behind so many of the things they feel every single day. The fatigue that seems to arrive earlier than it used to. The weakness that makes ordinary tasks feel heavier. The brain fog that turns simple thoughts into frustrating puzzles. The low energy that follows you through the afternoon. The pale skin, the thinning hair, the weaker immune system, the aches that seem to linger longer than they once did. Many people assume these are simply signs of aging, but in many cases, they are signs that your body may be running low on copper. Copper is one of the most important minerals in the human body, yet it is also one of the most overlooked. Your body uses copper to help create energy. It helps your body use iron properly. It supports healthy blood vessels, strong bones, healthy nerves, proper immune function, and even the production of collagen that helps keep skin looking youthful and resilient. The surprising part is that ancient people rarely worried about copper deficiency. Why? Because many of the foods they ate naturally contained it. The seeds, the legumes, the nuts, the simple foods that appeared on tables throughout the biblical world. Thousands of years later, modern nutritional science keeps rediscovering the value of these same foods. Today, we are counting down 17 biblical copper bombs your body is secretly missing. Some of these foods may already be sitting in your kitchen. Others may surprise you. And stay with me until the very end, because number 1 contains far more copper than most people realize and has one of the most fascinating connections to ancient diets. As always, this content is not intended as medical advice and should not replace guidance from your healthcare professional. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider before making significant changes to your diet or health routine. Food number 17, chickpeas. Long before grocery stores existed, chickpeas were feeding entire civilizations. Archaeologists have discovered evidence of chickpea cultivation across the Middle East, dating back thousands of years. They were a staple food throughout the ancient world and were commonly consumed throughout regions connected to biblical history. In many ways, chickpeas represent the kind of food ancient people relied upon every day. Simple, affordable, nutritious, and surprisingly powerful. A single cup of cooked chickpeas contains a modest amount of copper, roughly 0.3 of a milligram. That may not sound impressive at first, but considering that the average adult only needs about 0.9 of a milligram per day, chickpeas can contribute a meaningful portion of your daily needs. What makes this food especially interesting is that copper does not work alone. Copper and iron operate as partners inside the body. Without enough copper, your body struggles to use iron efficiently. This means some people can consume plenty of iron-rich foods and still experience symptoms associated with poor iron utilization. Researchers have observed that copper plays a critical role in helping transport iron throughout the body, where it can be used to create healthy red blood cells. That is where the story becomes interesting. Many people associate low energy exclusively with iron deficiency. Few realize that copper may also be part of the equation. Chickpeas also provide fiber, plant protein, folate, and magnesium. Together, these nutrients support steady energy levels rather than the quick spikes and crashes associated with heavily processed foods. One of the easiest ways to enjoy chickpeas is through hummus. The combination of chickpeas, olive oil, lemon, and sesame creates a nutrient-dense food that has been enjoyed throughout the Middle East for generations. If beans sometimes cause digestive discomfort, start with smaller portions and increase gradually. Your digestive system often adapts over time. But this is only the beginning. The next food contains even more copper and has been treasured for centuries throughout ancient trade routes. Food number 16, dates. When most people think of biblical foods, dates are often among the first that come to mind. Throughout the ancient Near East, date palms were symbols of abundance and prosperity. Travelers crossing harsh deserts often relied on dates because they provided valuable energy in a compact form. Entire communities depended on these remarkable fruits. What many people never realize is that dates also contain copper. A serving of dates provides a useful amount of this important mineral, while also delivering potassium, fiber, and natural sugars that can provide quick energy. But here is where things become surprising. The real value of dates may not be their copper content alone. It is the package that comes with it. Copper supports the enzymes involved in energy. Copper supports the enzymes involved in energy production. Meanwhile, the natural carbohydrates in dates provide fuel for those energy-producing systems. Ancient people obviously did not understand mitochondria or cellular metabolism, but they understood something equally important. Certain foods helped them endure. Certain foods sustained them, and dates earned their reputation through experience. Modern research has shown that dates contain antioxidants that may help protect cells from oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is believed to play a role in aging and many chronic health conditions. That does not mean dates are a miracle food, but it does mean they offer more than simple sweetness. Many people enjoy chopping dates into oatmeal, adding them to smoothies, or eating a few alongside nuts for a satisfying snack. Because dates contain natural sugars, portion size matters, especially for individuals monitoring blood sugar levels. Even so, when eaten in moderation, they can be a valuable addition to a balanced diet. And we have not yet reached the foods that truly stand out for copper. In fact, one of the upcoming foods contains nearly double the copper found in dates and has a connection to one of the most famous foods in biblical history. Food number 15. Lentils. Few foods carry a more dramatic biblical story than lentils. In the book of Genesis, Esau famously sells his birthright for a bowl of lentil stew prepared by his brother Jacob. It is one of the most memorable food-related moments in Scripture. At first glance, the story may seem strange. How could a bowl of stew be worth something so valuable? But understanding the nutritional power of lentils makes the story a little easier to appreciate. A cup of cooked lentils provides roughly 1/2 milligram of copper. That is already more than half of what many adults need in an entire day. And unlike many modern convenience foods, lentils deliver that copper alongside protein, fiber, iron, folate, and numerous other nutrients. This combination makes lentils one of the most nutritionally complete plant foods available. Copper plays a role in collagen production. Collagen is essential for healthy skin, connective tissue, blood vessels, and joints. As people age, collagen production naturally declines. That is one reason skin becomes thinner and joints often become less resilient. Understanding that fact makes the biblical story much more interesting. Jacob's lentil stew was not merely filling. It was built from ingredients capable of supporting long-term health and physical endurance. And what happens next on our list may surprise you even more. Food number 14. Whole grain barley. When the Bible describes the harvests of ancient Israel, barley appears again and again. Barley was one of the foundational crops of the biblical world. It fed families, supported communities, and often served as an important measure of prosperity. The miracle of the loaves performed by Jesus even involved barley bread. That alone makes barley one of the most historically significant foods on this list. Yet very few people today think about barley when they think about nutrition. That may be a mistake. A cup of cooked barley provides a meaningful amount of copper along with fiber, selenium, magnesium, and several important B vitamins. What makes barley especially interesting is how it supports steady energy. Unlike highly processed carbohydrates that are absorbed rapidly, barley digests slowly. Its fiber creates a more gradual release of energy. Ancient farmers may not have understood blood sugar regulation, but they certainly understood endurance. Foods like barley helped sustain long workdays in the fields. Copper contributes to this process in a less obvious way. Your body uses copper in enzymes involved in cellular energy production. Without adequate copper, the machinery that converts food into usable energy becomes less efficient. This is one reason low copper levels are sometimes associated with fatigue and weakness. Researchers have also studied the fiber in barley extensively. Some evidence suggests it may help support healthy cholesterol levels and cardiovascular health. What makes this food especially valuable is that it delivers multiple benefits at once. The copper helps support energy production. The fiber supports digestion. The minerals support overall health. and all of it comes packaged inside a food humans have eaten for thousands of years. Barley works beautifully in soups and stews. It can replace rice in many dishes and creates a hearty texture that feels especially satisfying during cooler months. But here is where things become interesting. The next food is smaller than barley, far smaller, yet it contains significantly more copper. Food number 13, sesame seeds. Sesame seeds have been cultivated since ancient times throughout the Near East. They were used for food, oil, trade, and even medicinal purposes. Tiny though they are, sesame seeds were incredibly valuable. And once you understand their nutritional profile, that value starts to make sense. Just a small serving of sesame seeds provides an impressive amount of copper. In fact, a quarter cup can provide well over 100% of the daily copper requirement for many adults. That is remarkable, especially when you consider how small these seeds are. What researchers discovered next is even more fascinating. Sesame seeds also contain compounds called lignans. These plant compounds have attracted scientific interest because of their antioxidant properties. Oxidative stress is believed to contribute to aging, inflammation, and many chronic diseases. The combination of copper and antioxidants creates an interesting partnership. Copper supports important enzymes that help protect cells from oxidative damage. Meanwhile, the antioxidants provide additional support. This is where the story gets interesting. Many people consume sesame every week without realizing it. Tahini, hummus, Middle Eastern sauces, seed toppings on bread. All of these can contribute meaningful amounts of copper. Ancient people likely consumed these foods regularly without ever knowing the word copper, yet their diets naturally provided it. Sesame seeds are easy to incorporate into modern eating habits. Sprinkle them on salads, mix them into oatmeal, use tahini as a spread or dressing. A little goes a surprisingly long way. People with sesame allergies should obviously avoid them. For everyone else, these tiny seeds may be one of the easiest nutritional upgrades available. And surprisingly, we still have not reached the true copper heavyweights. Several of the foods ahead contain dramatically more. Food number 12, mushrooms. Mushrooms have fascinated people for thousands of years. Ancient cultures viewed them with curiosity because they seemed to appear almost overnight. One day, the ground was empty. The next day, mushrooms emerged. That mystery gave them an almost magical reputation. Today, science offers a clearer explanation. But mushrooms remain remarkable foods. Many varieties contain useful amounts of copper. Certain mushrooms provide nearly half of the daily copper requirement in a single serving. That is impressive for a food that is naturally low in calories. What makes mushrooms especially interesting is their connection to the immune system. Research has identified compounds within mushrooms that may help support immune function. Some varieties contain beta-glucans, natural substances that have attracted attention for their potential role in immune health. Copper contributes to this story as well. Your immune system relies on adequate copper levels to function properly. Low copper intake has been linked to impaired immune responses in some studies. That does not mean mushrooms are a cure for illness, but it does mean they contribute to a larger nutritional picture. This is where many people become surprised. When they think about copper, they imagine nuts or seeds. Rarely do they think about mushrooms. Yet mushrooms quietly outperform many more famous foods. They also support healthy nerve function. Copper plays a role in maintaining the protective coverings around nerves. Healthy nerves are essential for movement, sensation, and communication throughout the body. Mushrooms are incredibly versatile. Add them to soups, sauté them with olive oil, mix them into eggs, use them as a side dish. They adapt to almost any meal, and the foods ahead become even more impressive. In fact, one of the next foods was once considered so valuable that it was associated with wealth and celebration. Food number 11, walnuts. Walnuts have a long history throughout the ancient world. Trade routes carried them across kingdoms and empires. They were prized foods, often associated with prosperity and abundance. The Song of Solomon even mentions walnut gardens. That detail alone tells us something important. Walnuts were valued, not ordinary, not overlooked, valued. A single serving of walnuts provides copper along with healthy fats, antioxidants, and plant compounds that researchers continue to study. Most people recognize walnuts because of their unusual appearance. Their shape resembles the human brain. While appearance alone means nothing scientifically, it is interesting that walnuts happen to contain nutrients associated with brain health. Copper helps support the nervous system. It contributes to neurotransmitter production and healthy communication between nerve cells. When copper levels become too low, neurological symptoms can sometimes develop. Researchers have long recognized the importance of maintaining adequate intake. Walnuts also provide omega-3 fatty acids. These healthy fats have been linked to cardiovascular and cognitive benefits. What makes this food especially interesting is how many nutritional systems it touches simultaneously. Brain health, heart health, energy production, inflammation control, all inside a simple handful of nuts. Ancient people may not have spoken about omega-3s, but they recognized quality foods when they saw them. That understanding passed from generation to generation. Walnuts are easy to add to oatmeal, yogurt, salads, or simply eat on their own. A small handful is usually enough. And now we are entering the upper half of this list. The foods ahead contain even more copper. One of them was considered so valuable in the ancient world that entire economies depended upon it. And another may completely change how you think about biblical nutrition. Food number 10. Almonds. Almond trees were among the earliest to bloom each year throughout the lands of the Bible. Long before the hills turned green with spring, the almond tree would already be covered in delicate blossoms, making it a symbol of awakening and new beginnings. In the book of Jeremiah, God even uses the almond tree as a picture of watchfulness because it blooms before almost every other tree. That alone made almonds memorable. But what ancient people likely appreciated even more was how nourishing they were. A single ounce of almonds provides a respectable amount of copper, while also supplying magnesium, vitamin E, healthy monounsaturated fats, and plant protein. At first glance, almonds may not appear extraordinary. But here is where things become interesting. Copper helps your body produce collagen. Collagen is often discussed today in expensive powders and supplements. Yet your body cannot simply build collagen without the nutrients required for the process. Copper acts like one of the craftsmen behind the scenes. Without enough of it, collagen production becomes less efficient. That matters because collagen supports much more than skin. It strengthens blood vessels. It helps support joints. It contributes to healthy bones. It even plays an important role in maintaining connective tissues throughout the body. Researchers have also found that almonds may support heart health. Their combination of healthy fats, fiber, and antioxidants has been associated with improvements in cholesterol levels when consumed as part of an overall healthy diet. Most people think of almonds as a quick snack. Ancient people likely viewed them as something much more valuable. A food that could be stored for long periods, carried on journeys, and provide lasting nourishment when other foods were scarce. A small handful each day is enough for most people. People with tree nut allergies should obviously avoid them. But for everyone else, almonds remain one of nature's simplest nutritional packages. Still, almonds are nowhere near the top of today's countdown. Several foods ahead contain considerably more copper. One of them was eaten throughout biblical times and continues to surprise nutrition researchers today. Food number 9. Figs. Few foods appear throughout Scripture as often as figs. From Genesis to the teachings of Jesus, the fig tree appears repeatedly. It became a symbol of peace, prosperity, and abundance. Ancient families often planted fig trees close to their homes because they produced reliable harvests year after year. That reliability extended beyond simple calories. Figs contain copper along with potassium, calcium, fiber, and numerous antioxidant compounds. Fresh figs are nutritious. Dried figs become even more concentrated. What makes figs especially interesting is their relationship with healthy aging. Their fiber supports digestive health, something that becomes increasingly important later in life. Research continues to show that a healthy digestive system influences far more than digestion alone. It affects immunity, inflammation, even overall well-being. Copper quietly supports another important process. It helps create elastin. Elastin works alongside collagen to keep skin flexible and blood vessels healthy. Without enough copper, those systems cannot function as efficiently. Ancient people may never have spoken about elastin. Yet foods like figs naturally supplied many of the nutrients required for healthy connective tissue. Fresh figs are wonderful when in season. Dried figs provide year-round convenience. A few sliced into oatmeal or paired with nuts create an incredibly nutrient-dense snack. But here's where the story becomes surprising. The next food isn't sweet at all. In fact, many people overlook it completely, despite it containing significantly more copper. Food number 8. Pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds may be small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. Yet nutritionally, they are among the giants. Most people know pumpkin seeds because of their magnesium. Few realize they are also one of the richest plant sources of copper available. Just a small serving delivers a substantial portion of the day's copper requirement. That alone would make them impressive. But they bring much more. Pumpkin seeds contain zinc, iron, healthy fats, protein, and manganese. This combination makes them nutritional powerhouses. What researchers discovered over the years is especially fascinating. Copper and iron work together in producing healthy red blood cells. Zinc supports immune health. Magnesium contributes to muscle and nerve function. Instead of delivering just one nutrient, pumpkin seeds provide an entire team working together. This is something modern nutrition continues to rediscover. Foods often outperform isolated supplements because nutrients naturally exist alongside other compounds that support one another. Pumpkin seeds also contain antioxidants that help protect cells against oxidative stress. As people grow older, protecting cells from accumulated damage becomes increasingly important. Adding pumpkin seeds to yogurt, salads, oatmeal, or simply eating a small handful each day requires almost no effort. Unsalted varieties are generally the better choice for those watching sodium intake. And, remarkably, they still are not number one. The next few foods become even more surprising. One of them has been considered a delicacy for centuries. Another contains nearly everything your body needs to support healthy energy production. Food number 7. Sunflower seeds. Although sunflowers are not native to the biblical world, sunflower seeds deserve a place on this list because of their exceptional copper content and overall nutritional profile. Sometimes modern science uncovers foods that complement ancient eating patterns beautifully. This is one of them. A modest serving of sunflower seeds provides a significant amount of copper while also delivering vitamin E, selenium, healthy fats, and plant protein. Vitamin E has attracted considerable attention because it helps protect cells from oxidative damage. Copper supports antioxidant enzymes inside the body. Together, they create a remarkable partnership. This is where things become especially interesting. Many people purchase expensive antioxidant supplements. Meanwhile, one of the richest combinations of antioxidant nutrients sits quietly in the snack aisle of the grocery store. Researchers have observed that diets rich in seeds and nuts are often associated with healthier aging. No single food guarantees perfect health, but patterns matter. And sunflower seeds frequently appear within dietary patterns linked to improved cardiovascular health. Copper also contributes to maintaining healthy blood vessels. Blood vessels must remain flexible and strong to transport oxygen and nutrients throughout the body. Without adequate copper, maintaining those tissues becomes more difficult. Sunflower seeds require almost no preparation. Sprinkle them over salads. Blend them into homemade trail mix. Mix them into oatmeal. Or simply enjoy a small handful during the afternoon instead of processed snack foods. As impressive as sunflower seeds are, they still cannot compete with what comes next. The remaining foods become dramatically richer in copper. One of them has been prized since ancient civilizations. Another has become one of the greatest nutritional surprises in modern research. And number 1 contains more copper than almost anyone expects. Food number 6. Cashews. Although cashews were not native to the lands of the Bible, they deserve a place among today's countdown because of their remarkable copper content and the lesson they teach about how God has filled creation with nourishing foods across the world. What makes cashews so interesting is that they often hide in plain sight. People sprinkle them on stir-fries, mix them into trail mix, blend them into creamy sauces, snack on them by the handful. Yet, few realize they are one of the richest natural sources of copper available. Just 1 ounce of cashews provides well over half of an adult's recommended daily copper intake. That is remarkable for something that fits comfortably in the palm of your hand. But here is where the story becomes even more fascinating. Copper is essential for helping your body create ATP, the molecule often described as the body's energy currency. Every heartbeat, every breath, every movement, every thought requires energy, and every one of those processes depends upon countless microscopic reactions taking place every second. Copper quietly assists many of those reactions. Researchers have found that copper-containing enzymes are deeply involved in how cells generate energy inside the mitochondria. When copper levels become too low, some people begin noticing fatigue long before they recognize any other symptoms. Many assume they simply need more sleep. Others reach for another cup of coffee. Very few ever stop to wonder whether a nutrient deficiency could be contributing. Cashews also provide magnesium, phosphorus, healthy fats, and plant protein. Together, these nutrients help support muscles, nerves, and bones, while providing lasting satisfaction after meals. One simple way to enjoy cashews is to combine them with dried fruit or fresh fruit for a balanced snack. They also blend beautifully into homemade sauces, creating a rich texture without relying on heavy cream. Like all tree nuts, cashews should be avoided by anyone with a nut allergy, and because they are calorie-dense, moderation remains important. But as impressive as cashews are, they still are not among the very richest copper foods. In fact, the next food has been treasured since biblical times and contains even more. Food number 5, tahini. If you've ever enjoyed hummus, you've probably eaten tahini without giving it much thought. Tahini is simply sesame seeds ground into a smooth, creamy paste. Yet this humble food has nourished generations throughout the Middle East for centuries. Ancient families understood something modern nutrition continues to confirm. Sometimes the simplest foods carry extraordinary value. Since tahini is made almost entirely from sesame seeds, it concentrates many of their nutrients. Just a few spoonfuls provide an impressive amount of copper along with calcium, healthy fats, protein, and antioxidants. What makes tahini especially interesting is how easy it is to incorporate into everyday meals. Spread it on whole grain bread, blend it into dressings, stir it into soups, use it as a dip for vegetables. Without making dramatic changes to your diet, you can significantly increase your copper intake. Researchers continue studying sesame compounds because of their antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. While no single food prevents disease, diets rich in nutrient-dense whole foods consistently show benefits across many population studies. This is one reason traditional dietary patterns often outperform highly processed modern eating habits. Ancient people did not count nutrients, they simply ate foods close to the way they came from the earth. And many of those foods naturally provided what the body needed. But we are now entering the final stretch. The remaining foods become increasingly surprising. One of them has been misunderstood for years. Another has been treasured by cultures around the world for generations. And number 1 contains enough copper to surprise almost everyone watching. Food number 4, dark chocolate. At first, dark chocolate may seem completely out of place on a biblical foods list. After all, cacao was unknown in the ancient Near East. Yet when discussing natural copper-rich foods, it deserves recognition. What surprises many people is just how much copper high-quality dark chocolate contains. A modest serving of dark chocolate with a high cacao percentage can provide a significant portion of your daily copper needs. That makes it one of the richest natural sources available. But here is the important distinction. Not all chocolate is created equal. Milk chocolate often contains much more sugar and far less cacao. Dark chocolate with a cacao content of at least 70% generally delivers far greater nutritional value. Researchers have studied cacao extensively because it contains flavonoids. These natural plant compounds have been associated with improved blood vessel function and antioxidant activity. Copper adds another layer to this story. Healthy blood vessels rely on connective tissue. Copper contributes to the production of collagen and elastin that help maintain their strength and flexibility. This means dark chocolate delivers far more than simple enjoyment. It provides nutrients that support important systems throughout the body. Of course, moderation remains essential. Dark chocolate still contains calories. It should be viewed as part of an overall balanced eating pattern rather than an excuse for excess. Yet few people would guess that one of today's richest copper foods could also be one many already enjoy. And somehow, even dark chocolate does not reach the top 3. The remaining foods are among the most nutrient-dense foods found anywhere. Food number 3, oysters. For thousands of years, coastal communities gathered oysters as a valuable source of nourishment. Ancient civilizations around the Mediterranean prized shellfish for their rich flavor and exceptional nutrition. While oysters are often discussed because of their zinc content, far fewer people realize they are also packed with copper. In fact, just a small serving can provide several times the recommended daily intake. That is extraordinary. This is where the story becomes especially interesting. Copper and zinc often work together inside the body. Both minerals support immune health. Both contribute to wound healing. Both participate in hundreds of important enzymatic reactions. Maintaining the proper balance between them is essential. Researchers continue investigating how trace minerals like copper influence healthy aging, immune function, and energy metabolism. Although oysters are incredibly nutritious, they are not appropriate for everyone. Individuals with shellfish allergies should avoid them entirely. Raw oysters also carry food safety risks, particularly for older adults or individuals with weakened immune systems. Proper cooking greatly reduces those risks. As remarkable as oysters are, one food still surpasses them. And number one has quietly nourished humanity for thousands of years, while remaining one of the most concentrated natural sources of copper ever discovered. Food number two, beef liver. Few foods in human history have inspired stronger reactions than liver. Some people love it, others avoid it entirely. Yet regardless of personal preference, one fact remains impossible to ignore. Liver is one of the most nutrient-dense foods ever discovered. Ancient cultures understood this long before laboratories existed. When hunters made a successful kill, the organs were often among the first parts consumed. They were valued, respected, sometimes even reserved for important members of the community. The reason becomes obvious once you look at the nutrition. A single serving of beef liver contains several times the daily requirement for copper. Not several percent, several times. That places it among the richest natural sources available anywhere in the world. But copper is only part of the story. Liver also provides iron, vitamin A, B vitamins, folate, and nutrients involved in energy production throughout the body. This is where things become fascinating. Copper helps your body use iron properly. Liver happens to contain both. It is almost as though nature packaged the ingredients together exactly where they needed to be. Researchers continue studying how nutrient deficiencies affect energy, cognition, and healthy aging. Many of the nutrients receiving attention in modern studies have quietly existed inside foods like liver for thousands of years. Ancient people did not know the names of vitamins or minerals, but they understood results. They understood strength, endurance, recovery, vitality. Liver became valued because generations noticed the difference. For those who enjoy it, liver can be eaten occasionally in moderate portions. Others prefer incorporating small amounts into ground meat dishes. Some choose liver pate as a more approachable option. Because liver contains very high amounts of vitamin A, moderation remains important, especially for pregnant women or those following medical advice regarding vitamin intake. As remarkable as liver is, it still does not take the top position, because the number one food on today's list contains more copper than almost anyone expects and has one of the strongest connections to ancient diets and biblical eating traditions. Food number one, oysters and shellfish from the ancient seas. This surprises almost everyone. When people think of copper, they imagine pennies, pipes, electrical wiring. Rarely do they imagine the sea. Yet shellfish are among the richest sources of copper found anywhere in nature. A single serving of oysters can provide several times the daily requirement. Some varieties contain more copper than almost any commonly consumed food on Earth. That is extraordinary. And it may explain why coastal civilizations throughout history valued shellfish so highly. Throughout the Mediterranean world, fishing communities depended upon the sea for survival. Fish and shellfish supplied nutrients that inland populations often struggled to obtain consistently. Today, science helps explain why these foods were so valuable. Copper contributes to red blood cell formation. It supports healthy nerves. It helps create connective tissue. It supports the immune system. It participates in energy production. And perhaps most surprisingly of all, it helps protect cells from oxidative stress by supporting important antioxidant enzymes. This means copper influences systems throughout the entire body rather than a single organ or function. What researchers continue discovering is that trace minerals often behave like tiny spark plugs inside the body. You do not need large amounts, but without them, many systems cannot operate efficiently. That is what makes copper so fascinating. It is required in small amounts. Yet its impact reaches almost everywhere. Many of the symptoms people blame on aging can sometimes overlap with symptoms associated with inadequate nutrient intake. Fatigue, weakness, brain fog, poor exercise tolerance, changes in hair or skin, reduced immune resilience. Of course, many different factors can contribute to these symptoms, and proper medical evaluation is always important. But nutrition remains one piece of the puzzle that should never be ignored. And this is perhaps the greatest lesson hidden inside biblical eating patterns. Ancient people often consumed foods that were simple, whole, and nutrient dense. Legumes, seeds, nuts, whole grains, seafood. Foods that naturally provided minerals modern diets sometimes struggle to deliver. Today's world gives us access to more food than any generation before us. Yet strangely, many people consume fewer nutrients. Highly processed foods often contain calories without the same nutritional richness found in traditional diets. That does not mean we need to eat exactly as people did thousands of years ago, but perhaps there is wisdom worth revisiting. A handful of seeds, a serving of legumes, a few nuts, occasional seafood. Small choices repeated consistently over time often create the biggest changes. Copper may never receive the same attention as protein, vitamin D, or magnesium, but that does not make it any less important. Sometimes the nutrients working quietly behind the scenes are the ones we need most. If today's list surprised you, you are certainly not alone. Many people discover for the first time just how many everyday foods contain this remarkable mineral. And the encouraging news is that improving copper intake often does not require expensive supplements or complicated routines. Sometimes it simply means returning to foods that have nourished humanity for generations. Foods that ancient people trusted. Foods that stood the test of time. Foods that modern science continues to rediscover. As always, this content is intended for educational purposes only and should not replace professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you found this helpful, consider sharing it with someone who may benefit from hearing it. And if one of these foods surprised you, let us know which one stood out the most. Thank you for spending this time with us. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of those around you, and never underestimate the power of the foods that have nourished humanity for thousands of years.